Hey guys, Community Starcraft 2 is back and it's hosted by me, Magnet. And again, it's been a while since I have casted to this channel, and wow, I get a message every single time at this part of the video. I don't know what the deal is, but people apparently really want to talk to me at strange times. Anyway, so I'm back with more videos for Community Starcraft 2, and I'm just gonna get started. Okay, this is getting silly. Anyway, so yeah, anyway, back to what I was talking about. I'm starting a tutorial series of how to play each race. Today's lesson is just going to be a quick introduction of how to play Zerg. So this is going to be one of those videos that's like, if you have never really played StarCraft multiplayer before, or if you just want a fresh start, maybe with a new race, or just want to learn a race from the ground up, this would be a good place to start. We're going to be going over what makes Zerg a unique race in comparison to the other ones, and what you can expect to get out of Zerg if you want to stick with them in the long term. They're a very different race than the other two, so it's almost like a totally different game if you play Zerg. So we'll get into that in just a second. Let's jump into the game and I will show you what needs to be done in order to get started. Hopefully this worked. I do see the camera on, so we should be good. We're going to go to the matchmaking tab here, and we're just going to start out by playing against an AI, because losing against an AI doesn't matter. It's not like they're going to BM you if you lose to them or whatever. So anyway, so we're starting the game up. It'll select a random map for you, and you can play against AIs until you're comfortable enough with the race to start playing against real players. It's a really good place to learn. The AI is actually pretty decent as far as mimicking players that you're going to play on the ladder. The first thing I want you to do when you get into the game, though, is hit pause, and we'll jump into the options here so we can set a few things to be sure that everything is giving you the best chance for success. So go into graphics, set up any graphics options that might help out as far as not slowing you down when you're playing the game, because you don't want to be like in a fight and not being able to control anything because your computer just can't handle it. So you can change that here. Sound is all pretty self-explanatory. You'll learn more about that later. You'll get used to what you like and don't like. It's different for everyone. Go to controls first off. You want to make sure your mouse sensitivity feels comfortable so that you can move around at a decent rate. You can see my cursor jumping all over the place. You want to also set the mouse scroll speed a lot higher than it starts out. It starts out down here at 20, roughly. If you can stand to set it about 80 and just get used to it, it'll really help you out as far as playing a little better. Keyboard scroll speed doesn't matter as much because you want to tend to not touch those keys as much. Drag scroll speed, not a big deal, don't worry about that. Gameplay is the most important screen here though, so you want to check the show game timer, which you can see right there. You want to check the build grid, which you can see here. You want to check displaying the hotkeys on the command card, and you want to also check enabling enemy unit selection. I screw that up every time I say that, I swear. So you want to check that as well, and those are for various reasons that, let's just say, they'll help you pretty much regardless of the game state. You do want to also uncheck a couple of things. You want to uncheck the simple command card so that you can actually see all the actions that your units can do and what keys they're assigned to. You want to uncheck the display team color life bar just because it's easier to understand what's going on without it. And the other two things you want to take care of is always show unit life bars so that you can see how much health the unit has, so you know what to pull back or what to attack with or whatever. You want to also show the flyer helper because that can only help you as well. The last thing you want to set up is your hotkeys. If you've never played StarCraft before, if you've never played a PC game before or whatever, which is the case when I first started, Grid I would really highly recommend because it's easy to understand and you can play any race with Grid. The keys don't change. Some people like Standard, you can change it up here, but I really recommend Grid for especially new players. So we'll just go ahead and hit accept. Also, another thing to note is that Grid will help you learn a new race in the sense that once you learn that race's hotkeys, you can switch between all the races interchangeably and you'll understand everything. So we'll go ahead and resume the game and unpause it, of course. So we'll explain what makes Zerg unique. The other two races have methods of giving you supply in buildings. Zergs are actually an overlords, so they have multiple different uses. These overlords can go scout, they can sit at various positions on the map that are important, etc. The other very interesting mechanic with Zerg is that everything is produced from a hatchery, and most things that are produced from the hatchery require larvae. So it's almost as if Zerg has their own extra resource type, which is really interesting, and it's kind of the central mechanic to the race. So you can see if you select your hatchery, you can hit select larva, and these are all the different units that you can produce. Obviously certain units will be unlocked based upon different buildings or other upgrades that you might have researched. Most of the time it revolves around buildings though. So I'm just going to be running a general build order. There's nothing really too terribly important going on in this game. This is just to kind of give you something to look at while I'm explaining the different concepts of Zerg, because you don't want to just sit in there and look at a blank screen or anything like that. That would be pointless. But yeah, yeah, Zerg is really reliant on their larva. We'll get to that in just a second. The other interesting thing with Zerg is that they do have this stuff called creep. That's what this black or purple stuff is. That comes out of hatcheries, and that you can spread all over the map in order to help your units gain more speed. It'll also grant vision, but it's not necessarily the creep that's granting vision, it's the things that allow you to spread creep. So those are really the base mechanics from Zerg that are very interesting in this game. Overall, Zerg is a very offensive race in the sense that their whole goal is to try and make so many units that the enemy just can't handle it anymore. They're also very oriented around expanding and kind of taking over the map. So if you hear the whole famous like Zerg rush or whatever, that's just kind of playing into the flavor that they have, in the sense that if you play Zerg, the whole goal is to kind of just take over everything. So if that sounds like your kind of style, maybe Zerg is the race that you want to play. So it's pretty fun. I mean, everyone likes different things about the game. I'm putting out a queen right now that is going to be very central to all the Zerg mechanics, and I'll explain that when she gets done. And yes, these races do have she's and he's. So as you can see, what's funny about this is that my supply building, which is these overlords, is floating into his base, and I can see that what units he has already. So I don't even need to necessarily send one of my workers over there to figure out what the enemy is doing. So there's a lot of different and unique ways you can use different Zerg items and units and whatever. The queen is almost done. I'll show you what spells she has when she gets out. And I'm not going to care too much more about this game because it's pretty much there. And the point of this isn't watching me play the game yet. I mean, we'll get in more of that later. But so if you see on the queen, you can spawn creep tumors, and that's what allows your creep to spread. Again, if you spread out, I'll go ahead and just plant a creep tumor now. We'll make another queen just for the sake of that, for demonstrating what's going on. I'm going to lose my overlord. This is sloppy. But anyway, so if you spread a creep tumor like this, your creep will start to grow from this point, and this tumor also grants you vision. So imagine later in the game, if you have creep tumors all over the map, you'll be able to see everything that's going on your side of the map, whereas if you play a different race, you won't be able to see everything unless you specifically have units out there. So that's a really big advantage, and the other advantage is that if you take a look at one of your Zerglings or any unit, you can see their move speed right there is 2.95, but if they're on creep, they get a speed bonus, as you can see down there. The other mechanic that I just did right now is I injected my larva, or rather injected my hatchery with larva, so that a hatchery can max out at 3 larvae. So you can see the 3 larvae right there, but this will also allow you to just keep producing more off of the same hatchery. So for every hatchery that you expect to be building units off of, you definitely want 1 queen there, so that you can get more larvae throughout the game and essentially produce more units. Like I said, it's like its own resource for Zerg, so it's a very weird mechanic, but it's interesting and it's very cool. The other cool thing about this is that you don't have to keep making new creep tumors with your queens. I mean, you can if you want to, but these creep tumors actually spread themselves. So over time you can select the creep tumor, and it'll come down here and it'll make a new one. So it's kind of that whole idea of like Zerg wants to take everything over, and that's yet another mechanic that can really do that. As far as Zerg as a whole, considering they do get speed bonuses on creep, and considering they do gain vision from creep, the whole idea behind Zerg is overrunning your opponent and gaining that speed advantage. So the idea behind the larva and the idea behind the creep is that you can make a whole bunch of different units at once. And if you can just set some units out there to figure out what units you need to make in order to counter your opponent, and you have a whole bunch of larvae ready to go, that's a really good way to just instantly produce an army and instantly keep recreating army after army after army until you eventually just overwhelm your opponent with so much stuff that they just can't handle it anymore. And I'm doing a really crappy job of keeping up on overlords here, but yeah, so the basic idea with Zerg is that most of the gameplay is going to be figuring out what your opponent is doing and trying to respond with the correct units to that. I mean, it's a central point in the game, but it's especially important for Zerg. And the other important thing is that just continually spreading your creep whenever it's ready, and continually injecting your hatcheries with larvae is a very big part of the game. So most of the game is going to be actually managing those kinds of things, and it's going to be a lot based around mechanics and just how quickly you can play. So it seems a little boring, but it's actually really fast-paced. It feels oddly satisfying to be able to play like that. I mean, I don't really know how else to say it. Like, it feels like work, but it's actually really fun. So yeah, those are kind of the central points to Zerg as far as the general overview. We'll get into more specifics later with other videos. Let me make sure I've covered all my bases here so that we're actually talking about everything that needs to be talked about. So why choose Zerg? I firmly believe that Starcraft suits different personality styles. Zerg tends to suit more aggressive people, or people that have much more of like a group mentality. I don't really know how else to say that, because like the whole point is to make a whole bunch of units and just overwhelm somebody with just stuff that they can't handle. So if you're one of those people, definitely choose Zerg. Excuse me. Racial advantages are that, of course, you get to see the whole map if you can spread everything, but that's also kind of a disadvantage because you need to be able to stay on top of all that stuff in order to maintain. So like if you can't inject your hatcheries or if you can't spread creep, you might just die because of that, and that can be a little frustrating. As far as general mechanics and concepts, I think we covered that pretty thoroughly. I don't know what else to say. This is supposed to serve as just a very general introduction to the race, so we're not going to be getting too far into the whole, like, you know, entire smorgasbord of different things you can do with Zerg. Those will be covered in other videos. This is just meant to explain Zerg as a concept and to give you a general introduction to the race if you are interested in playing them. If you are interested in playing them, go ahead and check out the tutorials series that belongs to Zerg. Should be in this playlist, and I think nowadays it'll just automatically play the next video that's in the series. So you can just keep watching if you want. If you want more content, I do live stream if you want to see me play against people on the ladder. I also do cast some games so that you can watch other people playing. The link is down there, twitch.tv/magnetsc2. So yeah, stay tuned for more videos, and I guess until then, we'll see you next time, and hopefully we can get some more Zergs out there.